Alright, so just checked out this movie called Officer Black Belt. Starts up with a guy by the name of Dio. Now, Dio knows like 3 different types of kendo. He chills out with his friends playing online games. He also does delivery for his father's chicken spot. We see him end up delivering chicken to his aunt that works at this little beauty parlor. So basically, he got this exciting, fulfilling life, right? Then while he's riding home, he sees a fight occurring. One dude was fighting dirty, he tried to use a beer bottle or whatever like that, and then Dio steps in. And it easily whips this guy's candy ass. We find out the guy he was fighting was an ex-convict, and he saved this officer by the name of Mr. Cho. Mr. Cho is a martial arts officer, and I'm gonna explain this in a minute. After he does this good deed, he talks to this director by the name of Mr. Kim. Now, Mr. Kim doesn't really run the police station, but he runs these military officers, or martial arts officers. Now, basically, what they do is, he has about 30 different officers on his roster, right? Now, their job is to make sure these released convicts don't go back to doing stupid shit. So they basically put ankle monitors on their bracelet, on their legs, and they basically got a computer set up and they monitor their actions. Majority of these released convicts are basically sex offenders. Dio ends up joining the team because Mr. Cho is going to be out for like 5 weeks because he was badly injured in the fight. Because he wants to help out and he's an all-around good guy. So he gets in, he's working in the office, and at this point he's kind of bored because he's just waiting for some shit to pop off. His life has always been fast-paced, non-stop heading up to this point. So getting a desk job is like a death nail. He's like, damn, I'm getting fucking bored. Alright, so how this system works is like this. The ankle monitors on these convicts have a certain amount of power. And once it gets to like 30%, they call these convicts to make sure everything is good, make sure they answer the phone, make sure everything's okay, making sure they charge up their goddamn ankle bracelets. Now, if they don't respond correctly, they gotta go out there and do their investigation on shit. Dio calls up this one guy, he's talking reckless, meanwhile there's a female in the background and hangs up the phone. Calls again, hangs up again. Calls the third time, phone's not in service. Well, you know what time it is. Now, Mr. Kim wants to go with Dio and catch this dude, right? Now, the thing is, Mr. Kim's got metal plate on his leg. I'll explain that in a minute. So he tells Mr. Kim to knock on the front door, and Dio's gonna be sitting out the back to check if he comes out any windows and stuff like that. Cause he said 9 times out of 10, this dude's gonna try to escape through the window, which he does. And right at that moment, the girl in the apartment is yelling help, you know what I'm saying? So basically, he was about to molest another girl. Dude jumps out the window, Dio's right there, and he gives a lady a smackdown, puts the taser on him, apprehended the suspect. Later on, Dio ends up seeing this suspect just chilling in a restaurant, whatever like that, but notices he got an ankle bracelet. He thought about it, but couldn't do nothing about it at the time because he wasn't really breaking any laws or nothing. So Mr. Kim wants to fight Dio out to dinner, but Dio was like, well, I got to chill with my friends. He's like, well, can you pay for all my friends to go out? He's like, all right, cool. So they all get together at this spot, they drink sake, and they get it popping. So Dio and his friends ask Mr. Kim why he wanted to be a cop in the first place. Or a martial arts officer, you know what I'm saying? And specifically, he wants to protect kids. Well, this is the reason. When he was 10 years old, he was in a car accident. Some random person blindsided him out of nowhere. His parents died in the car accident. And he was trapped in the car, and the car was about to explode. Some police came out of nowhere, ripped the door off the hinges and saved his life. And ever since then, he wanted to be a cop. Or a karate officer, or whatever you want to call it. So basically, he built this system to watch after ex-convicts. Basically, action-ready probation officers. So while they all having fun, they get a call from the police station. Apparently, another ex-convict not picking up his phone because his battery's on 30%. Turns out it was the guy that Dio was spying earlier. But apparently, this dude happens to be going through different alleyways because it gets to a point where even they can't even track him anymore. So they start looking for all the restaurants in the area. He goes to a spot where he thought the dude was about to come on to this girl, but she was like, he wanted me to go back home with him. I told him, nah. He started thinking about all the places in the area, and there where we see this dude land up, and his freaking aunt's business. And dude's about to molest Dio's aunt. We're like, oh shit. Dio starts searching all over the place, and he goes to his aunt's spots, finds him, and he starts whipping this nigga's ass, giving him the business. The look Dio got on his face, you're like, oh, he about to kill this motherfucker. But no, he actually just puts the cuffs on him and goes to tend to his aunt. So he's like, all right, he's still got his sense of justice. He's like, yeah. Then they got another dude that's on the loose. So Dio makes sure his aunt's safe. He gets back up with the rest of the crew. Now, this particular convict served 20 years but for manslaughter. And at this point, he's basically on the way to somebody's house to kill him right now. So they all get together. They file the ankle bracelet or whatever like that. But the thing is, this dude tossed his ankle bracelet. So one of Dio's friends has this drone. He tells him to help him use this drone or whatever like that to try to find him. So they were in the area particularly. And they end up finding the convict. Dio ends up whipping his ass, but then the convict finds a blade. He gets up and attempts to try to kill himself. So Mr. Kim's got an earpiece or whatever like that in Dio's head. And he tells him exactly what to say so he can talk him out of not killing himself. So the thing was, this convict was mad because this one dude that was supposed to be his friend was making fun of him for wearing an ankle bracelet. So the thing was, he was going to off him and then off himself. I'm like, what? But Dio talks him out of it and brings him back down to the station. Now, at this point, there's something I want to say, but I'll wait for it. So you got your one occasional convict that was locked up for manslaughter, but majority of these convicts that they look after are basically sex offenders. Now they got this one dude that's being released by the name of Kain. This guy's a problem. So much so that he was locked up for 20 years too, but here's the thing. He molested at least over like 30 elementary school kids. The thing is, this dude is such a menace, they need a whole division just to watch after this one guy. So the thing is, Dio and Mr. Kim are going to switch over to this other division just so the sole purpose of watch after Kain. When he gets released, he needs like a 5 to 10 car police escort just to get him home. There's people outside his hood protesting, wanting him to get the death penalty, all this shit. Man, it was freaking crazy. So they did the due diligence, put the ankle bracelet on him before they get him home or whatever like that. But here's the thing about Kain. It really is a house arrest bracelet. He can't leave the grounds without talking to anybody about anything. The only places he can go is in his area to get food to bring back to the house. Kain's in his house and then some dude comes to the door. And they're chilling, getting the smoke break in. He tells him he gotta meet up with some guy by the name Mr. Shin tomorrow. So the next day he leaves out of his house. The thing is, he goes a block out of his radius, alerting the boys, and we're like, oh shit. So Dio is tailing Kain, right? Kain ends up going to this 6-story building. Now it's got food spots, but it also has a kid nursery there. The thing is, the nursery doesn't open up for about another 2 hours. Kain ends up going down in the basement, getting into this car. In this car is a dude named Shin. Now Shin actually wants him to do videos of molesting girls, but here's the thing. For each video he does, he's going to pay him 10 million yen. So he's not molesting them for the hell of it or for power or whatever like that. He's doing it for money. This shit crazy. Dio ends up finding the basement, but the trucks ain't got tents on the windows or whatever like that, so Dio can't see shit. But Shin and Kain can't be spotted together, you know what I'm saying? Dio ends up still looking, but he still studies the license plate. Shin's thinking like, man, you might have to end this nigga. So as Dio goes back up exploring the building, Kain comes out, you know what I'm saying? He gets a call from Mr. Kim, and he ends up sneaking in the food spot to order food or whatever like that, right? All the while, he's talking to Mr. Kim, talking about, I don't really know how these phones worked or whatever. So by the time he gets to the food spot, Dio checks in on him and sees that he's there. So it makes him know that Kain wasn't doing nothing nefarious. So afterwards, Dio gets back to the office, and Mr. Cho appears. Mr. Cho is so happy that Dio could help out, and he gives him a gift. He gives him some targeting gloves, so he can use them while he's patrolling. And at this point, Dio decides he wants to do this full time now. Then we see this little girl talking to this puppy that's like tied up on his pole or whatever. And as she's doing it, all of a sudden she gets snatched up. Then we see Kain back in his house, and this dude comes in, you know what I'm saying, the dude that he was rocking with. He goes downstairs with him, and they got this room set up where he could do his children's videos and whatnot. But the thing is, he's got to get these officers out the way, so he's got a plan. So the dude that rocks with Kain ends up calling up all these other molesters, and I was like, wait a minute. It was molesters that Dio put down before. Now, this is where I was getting confused. When Dio put these guys down, they pretty much broke the law after getting out of jail, right? So after he arrested them, didn't they go back to jail? How the fuck are they free? This doesn't make sense. So at this point, Mr. Cho's back on the force. He's helping out Mr. Kim. He notices one of the defendants walking in a certain direction on the computer monitor, whatever like that. So they're going to go after this one. And Kain's on the loose too. So he sends Dio after Kain. Cho and Kim followed one of the defenders into an abandoned warehouse or whatever like that. But the thing was, they had to trap him in. It was a setup. A whole bunch of these sex offenders already beat the shit out of him. And time to find out, all these offenders work for Kain. So I guess they had money to bail all these niggas out. But I'm like, how did that go under the fucking radar? And Dio ends up getting trapped in a spot too. So now you got a bunch of niggas that's about to take out Dio. But Dio ends up whipping everybody's candy ass. And now it's on to Kain. Cho and Kim were not so lucky. Mr. Kim got completely fucked up. But bottom line is, Mr. Cho did not survive. He got hit with that metal bat and got teed off on. They fought hard though. Dio ends up going back to Kain's spot and finding Kain and his right-hand man with the little girl that got kidnapped on the street. He fought them dudes off, but then Kain fucked him up bad. But before he went in there, he made sure a neighbor called the police, so the police was on their way and then they had to dip out. Dio got stabbed. He was all the way fucked up, but he was still able to save the girl. But now we find out Kain took off that monitor bracelet and he's on the loose. And as Dio's lying in the hospital bed, he finds out that Mr. Kim was in critical condition and Mr. Cho died. Yeah, he got done deal. The one person that actually got him into the profession in the first place. So as the police have recognized him for his bravery after he, gets medically cleared and everything, this lady comes out and says thank you for rescuing her niece. The little girl's name is Minru. This is Minru's aunt. But the thing is, she's scared to come outside, you know what I'm saying? And after finding out Kain is still on the loose too. This little girl's only 10 years old. So that gives him motivation that he's going to find Kain and bring him to justice. But even more so, there was a 4-year span where the police couldn't catch this man. Had molested 10 kids within that time before he got locked up for 20 years. So all that's doing is giving Dio more motivation. Now his father's scared for him because he got stabbed. But he's like, look, Dad, Mr. Cho died for this shit, you know what I'm saying? He wants to make sure these kids have a future and all that, you know what I'm saying? Get the sob story and everything. So the motivational speech ain't gonna get it popping, and his friend's gonna help out too. So he tells one of his friends he remembers the license plate of one specific car that was in the basement. He tells him information they need to find this dude. And they pretty much just go torture his ass till he tells them where Kain is. He ends up putting a fucking taser to his eyeball. I'm like, yo, Dio's about to go the fuck off. Finally, Shin talks. He says Kain uses these certain credit cards, right? Now, these credit cards are marked up places that he's going to that have children or whatever the case may be. So they search all over the city, and then they finally find his hideout. And Kane's there with his sidekick and all these other sexual offender deviants. So Dio just marches in there, and he's about to fight all these niggas off. He's whipping all the candy as Kain is walking out the back door. But really, he was just waiting to meet him up there. And now it was one-on-one with Dio versus Kain. Fight was epic. It was back and forth. It was mayhem. When Kain got the upper hand, he started bashing on him all of a sudden. Dio's friend uses his drone to slice this man's face. And Dio got the upper hand back and ends up finishing off Kain. He arrests that nigga, they back in jail. Dio ends up getting the Medal of Valor, and then all of a sudden, Minru actually shows up to give him flowers. Because she feels safe to come out of home now. So now Dio's a captain and he pretty much heads the division. And there you have it. There's some gangster shit. Word. I just didn't understand how he was able to get all these sex offenders out after doing what they were doing. And for the division to not know that they were out. Could he have paid all their bonds? Sure. But my thing is like, for them not to know about it? Because these niggas still had the ankle bracelets on after the fact. So we're like, what? Anyway. Officer Black Belt on Netflix. Check that shit out.